Yeah, this guy just swung for the fences. He just instantly broke my jaw. I didn't even see it coming or anything. I don't actually remember the punch, and so he just knocked me out with that one punch that it messed my jaw up, and I fell back and smoked my head on the concrete, and then I woke up 45 minutes later.
What's up, y'all? Welcome back to Brain to Brain. I am here today with William, who is our first international guest on the show. William is from New Zealand. How you doing today, man?
Yeah, I mean, as good as you can with a with permanent brain damage, but I'm here. Happy to be here. Happy to share my story and try and help other people gather an understanding of what's going on.
That is the sole purpose for Brain to Brain, William. That is why we're doing this. And you have a very unique story. Funny enough, you and I have met on TikTok. Like we have never met in person. Just a couple of minutes ago is the first time we met face to face.
Yeah, yeah, it was funny. It's really cool how social media can be used in that way. You know, a short snippet of you testing different migraine theories was enough for me to come and check your account out and see what's going on. And here we are.
And I love that. And you suffer from migraines as well that are nonstop. Why don't you tell us a little bit about your story and how you came to start getting these migraines on a daily basis?
Yeah, absolutely. So, I mean, the dates may be a little hit or miss. It's been a while. I would say about 3.5 years, maybe 4 years ago, around October 2022, maybe 2021, 2022, one of them. I was out with a friend who unfortunately got into a scuffle with another gentleman that he lost very hard. He was fighting the next Israel Adesanya, and I ran in to try and break it up. My friend was getting dog walked here, and I ran in. I was like, hey, chill, like it's done, man. You're gonna kill him. And it was probably 3 o'clock in the morning. We'd been out drinking all night at clubs, and he just he was in beast mode, and he grabbed me by the back of the head and just started elbowing me pretty much in the same spot on that on the front kind of middle portion of my forehead, and I think I got hit 6 times, and I don't know, I was just pissing blood out the front of my forehead. We Fortunately, that was actually enough of a distraction to get my friend up, so there was a win there, and we jumped in the car, went home, and I went to go toilet for the night, and I wasn't I wasn't quite myself. I fell and hit the corner of a marble sink, like a sharp corner. I hit my head again and passed out. I had a seizure, and from what I've been told, and woke up in the hospital about 6 hours later. Beside one of my friends, we'd been waiting there for 6 hours. Apparently, a few of my other friends were in the waiting room. They didn't even know I was going to wake up. Um, I believe they took me in for a CT scan and said, "No, you're completely fine. You're just a drunken idiot," and sent me on my way. Um, so I went to the I went to work on that Monday and had an accident. Fell off a ladder, and my boss was like, "What's going on, man?" I was like, I got knocked out on the weekend, so he sent me to the doctor, and she said I had to take 2 weeks off. So that was the end of my tenure at that company. Um, so I was kind of, I was moping around in bed. My head was sore, um, feeling pretty sorry for myself for a week. And my friends convinced me to get out of bed and let's go have a quiet beer at the pub. And so we went. I had maybe a drink or two. I was taking it light. I was came out of the bar. I was walking down to go to, I think, probably another bar, knowing us, and um, my sister was just up the road. She was having a shouting contest with this guy. So I walked up, and I said, "Hey, like, how come you're shouting at my sister, man? What's going on?" I'm not a big guy. I'm like 5'10". I was surrounded by some pretty big guys. Um, and yeah, this guy just swung for the fences. He just instantly broke my jaw. Like I didn't even see it coming or anything. I don't actually remember the punch, and so he just knocked me out with that one punch that it messed my jaw up, and I fell back and smoked my head on the concrete, and then I woke up 45 minutes later, in an ambulance. A policeman was shining a flashlight in my eyes to wake me up and to ask me if I wanted to press charges, and I told him to off because I didn't know what was going on. Um, and yeah, I went to the hospital, and they once again just thought I was another drunken idiot. So they sat me in a wheelchair for 4 hours and discharged me without any. They gave me a ibuprofen for that second head injury. They sat me in a wheelchair next to my sister in the hospital for 4 hours, and then nothing, no scans, no help. They just were waiting for me to sober up and sent me on my way. And so that was kind of the beginning of where I started getting these pains. That first month after the second head injury, I think I slept between 18 to 20 hours a day. My mum was coming into the room every few hours to double check I was alive. I was completely antisocial, and just yeah, I couldn't do really anything but sleep. I was in so much pain, and at this time, I did had no idea how to cope with or deal with the pain.
Jesus. Oh my God. So just for our listeners to kind of piece this together, I mean, I was listening intently and just shell shocked by this chain of events that transpired in the span of 2 weeks, 3 weeks,
It was like 7 days.
7 days between breaking up a fight to help your friend and then being hospitalized after being hit in the head too many times, discharged. A week later, your friends are, encouraging you to leave the house. You go break up a shouting match with your sister, and then you get rendered unconscious again from a guy just hitting you. He broke your jaw too.
But he was a big guy. Yeah, he just
Dude.
from what I've gathered, yeah, he swung a big hook. He just wanted to hit the first person he could see because he felt threatened. I don't know how he felt threatened. I've tried to press charges, but he got a verbal or a written warning from our police force. I've spoken to the guy since, and he just said, yeah, like he was scared, but I don't know. I wouldn't have been scared if I was him, so I don't know what was
No,
going on with him.
that. Do you, good God, and you've had imaging done, at least at the first hospital stay. They said they didn't find anything. They sent you home. The second time you were in the hospital, they didn't even scan you.
Nothing. I don't even know if they gave me an ibuprofen, to be honest.
Is there any diagnosis from both of these hospital visits? Were they saying you were concussed or I mean, do you know what the discharge papers said?
I don't even know if we get discharge papers in this country, to be honest.
Oh,
Um,
that's on me.
like we no, I after I went to the hospital the first time, I went to my doctor who told me that I was concussed and I needed 2 weeks to, under no circumstances can I get hit in the head again. Don't go out. I'm concussed. Stay home. Here's some pills that'll help you out. I think it was diclofenac or something. I don't remember exactly, but yeah, against my doctor's wishes went out and got hit in the head again. So,
My God.
and I hadn't had a diagnosis after that for a while. I didn't go to the doctors that whole month.
So the first bout with the head injury, you you went to work 2 or 3 days later, right? That following Monday,
Yeah, yeah,
and
yeah. So it would have been 2 days later. Yeah,
then you fell off a ladder. You're
like the second step. I didn't nosedive off the top rope.
but your boss, I mean, did you hit your head again at that point, or you caught
Nah,
yourself?
I think I fell flat on my ass. I wasn't very coherent.
So your boss sent you home. Um,
Yeah,
you no longer work there. Did, dude, this is wild. So have you been able, this was 3 years. We're like on a 3 year stint now, right? Since all of these head injuries.
Yeah, well, around there. Yep.
Okay. Since the second time you got hit in the head, have you sought any rehabilitation, physical therapy, speech therapy, occupational therapy?
Yep. So New Zealand has a government subsidized company called ACC that you can go on. Um, Generally, the idea is that if you injure yourself in a workplace, you receive 80% of your wages, and they help pay towards any doctor's fees and stuff like that. But I was not technically employed because I was doing this 90-day trial, so I didn't get ACC. I had to go on what we call a benefit to pay the rent. It was a job seekers benefit, but I was deemed medically unfit for work. So I normally with a benefit you have a lot of obligations that you have to meet, searching for work and stuff. But I got support from them to help pay rent and whatnot. And then it took, let me see, if I got injured, maybe October, November. I joined an ACC rehabilitation program 7 months later.
Wow, 7 months.
That was just the wait.
Oh, you waited 7 months for this assistance.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's help the listeners understand. You're 23 right now. These events
Yes.
happened when you were 19, 20, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Were you in school at this point, or were you? It seemed like you were on a trial working with this company when everything unfolded.
Yeah. So I left school when I was 18. I didn't decide to go to university. Uh, School was never for me. I So I didn't want to go to school again after leaving school. So I've just been working. I worked at it's, I guess your equivalent would be like a Walmart. Um, it's called Kmart here, and then I was building construction. I was an apprentice for around 8 to 9 months, and I just left that job in between my apprenticeship job and this new job that I'd started. That's when it happened.
So after these events unfolded, you were unable to work for at least 7 months, and then you're getting this government assistance, right?
Yes, that's right. The government assistance was what helped me get through it, but I didn't get any rehabilitation help for 7 months.
Wow. Oh, okay. So the rehabilitation came 7 months later. You were getting government assistance along the way. That's what you were saying.
Yeah, I think 2 months after I managed to get that because the bills don't need to get paid.
Yeah, yeah. Again, through with my brain injury and what I've learned from medical professionals is getting that rehabilitation immediately is so, so, so important. Just
Yeah.
as that neuroplasticity, your brain's rewiring and stuff, you had to wait 7 months, over a half of a year. And then when you finally got granted this access, what did they help you with?
Um, I I think it's important to note I fried my brain really hard just before the program. Um, During that 7th month wait, uh, one of my closest friends died in a construction accident in New Zealand. When you're my age, the only really way you know how to cope with that was to drink. So I drank. I was on a bender for like a month, just drinking every single day, and that to preface that really also didn't help with my recovery in any capacity. I would highly recommend not drinking for a month straight if you have a head injury. But yeah, at the time, we threw caution to the wind. I did not give a about anything. So it was the only way to get through the days. So after that happened, yeah, I joined this rehabilitation program. Um, I was given a physiotherapist. So her job was to help me get my cognitive functions back up and running properly. So I did a lot of exercises with a string with different colored like children's circles and squares, little wooden cubes, and following different ones with my eyes as they do different motions because I was really dizzy. Um, Actually, yeah, I would say the main part of the physiotherapist was fully just getting my eyes, um, my senses back to where maybe not where they should be, but a level that was able for me to, conversate. I could, if I stood up too fast, I'd faint. If I had to look exactly at you like this, if my eyes wandered anywhere but directly forward, my whole brain would I'd just, yeah, it would like, yeah, it was like being in a spinning car. I also had a psychologist just solely because of the incidents that had occurred within this pretty short time period. They were worried for my mental health, which is understandable. And at the time, I was like, I don't need a fucking psychologist. Blah blah blah, this and that. But I definitely would recommend speaking to someone about things. And I think the good point of a therapist or a psychologist or any of those fields is that they're a neutral party. They're not someone who you're not weighing down on their lives by telling them this. I know a lot of people struggle because they don't want to add to someone else's or feel like they're a burden. But yeah, these systems are in place for a reason, and they really helped even at the time when, because they were worried I was going to kill myself and stuff. That was never going to happen. But at the time, I had no understanding as to why I would tell. Like, why do I need to tell her about it? I've spoken to, people ask, I tell. So I've spoken to enough people about it, but yeah, no, it really helped. I'm trying to think if there was anything with physio. I did some like, the neck and back massaging stuff. I forget what they call them, an orthodont. No, that's not it. I don't remember, but it hurt, and there was cause to believe that I'd done nerve damage in one of my necks when I'd been knocked out and fallen back and hit my head so hard and caused nerve damage in my neck. So they tried to fix that. I don't know if that helped, but I definitely see a case for it doing something positive.
Wow. Okay, there's a lot that I want to unpack here. William, you're a phenomenal speaker, man. I just want to say that you give such great detail of what you've been through. I just want to revisit this. Seeking help, right? Seeing a psychologist, seeing a counselor, seeing a therapist is so important. And I feel like for men, it's kind of there's a stigma associated with it, right? Like, well, if I go talk to somebody, it means I'm like a weaker man than I need to be. And that's I've I've gone to several therapists, I've gone to several psychologists. I mean, I've been to 19 different rehab facilities, and within those facilities, they had these doctors and counselors available, and it does help. Like you said, you're unpacking this stuff with a unbiased individual, and they really help me come to terms with my injuries and what life looks like and will look like down the road. So for anybody that's listening that's contemplating going to therapy, I strongly encourage it. And if you are struggling or haven't thought about seeking therapy, you should. I speak so highly on it, especially when you find the right counselor or therapist, right? I mean, there has to be a good connection between them for them to gain your
That's
trust.
an
Um,
important point is it can be different people.
yeah, it's almost like speed dating. I've gone through a lot, and like I've noticed there haven't been good relationships sometimes, but I realized with the people that I feel most comfortable with, I'm willing to share more, obviously. But I'm so happy you found um, some sense of relief to unpack what you've been through with a therapist. That's huge, man. That's I applaud you on taking that step, and I think releasing that emotional burden to some extent helps so much in the healing long term. I do want to
100%.
talk about your vision. You talked about how a therapist would hold physiotherapists, right? Vision therapists.
Yeah.
Uh,
Physiotherapist. So she was just there for all my body. It included stuff like walking and just trying to get me back to like a livable state within my body.
Yeah, let's talk about that. So you prior to these head injuries versus the person you were for those, those right afterwards, did you have trouble walking after the head injury? Like keeping
Yeah,
balance?
within reason, like I definitely, yeah, my balance was shot. I wouldn't say to the point that I couldn't walk, but yeah, I definitely I was all over the place. If I took a wrong step, I'd go, ass over end often. And yeah, like I said, if I stood up too quick and just the blood rush, or I don't know the exact science behind it, but I'd just faint. Um, so it took years of slowly learning things like slowly standing up and moving my head around when I talk to people. I'd say the dizziness was really, really hard to deal with. If I wasn't, I was explaining that before, the looking directly at you. Um, I that was one of the hardest things if, for my body wise I've ever had to deal with. That was unreal. Not being able to move my eyes off center at all. Like I still struggle with it today on bad days, but that was any time I would, and I hate spinning. I hate it so bad. I don't like merry-go-rounds or what any of those stuff. I don't like spinning, and it was horrible. And that was definitely one of the bigger parts of it. I just felt nauseous, sick. I wanted to vomit from looking at someone, which was no offense to them.
Yeah, yeah. That's actually really funny. I mean, when you say it that way. Okay, so help our listeners understand when you say if you looking forward, you didn't get dizzy. But if you moved your eyes to track something, that's when the dizziness would come into play.
Yes,
So if your eyes weren't focused forward, and say somebody talks to you at the table and you look or you use your eyes to look at them, that's when you feel like you're going to pass out or the world just starts spinning.
yeah, that's right. So yeah, if I'm not using my head to look, but I'm using my eyes instead. Like if I look even remotely close to my peripheral vision, then yeah, I was spinning out. Yeah, I don't even really know how
And
I could describe that.
and that through rehab, that has gotten better. Do you still have
Yeah.
symptoms of it? Is it completely gone?
Um, I would I would say yes. It's become second nature in how I deal. I use my eyes now. I relearned how to use them, but I can like I can look around and I can feel that in my head right now. It's not the greatest feeling, but it was nowhere near as bad as it was. Not at all. But yeah, a lot of the exercises, it was about focus. It was my eyes couldn't focus. Like if your camera lens was smudged, I couldn't focus on something directly in front of me or something small. So I had to retrain my brain, retrain my eyes to be able to focus on small things, and the rest kind of came naturally.
And was that the relearning? That was a daily thing. Were you in rehab 5 days a week?
I I She would come to my house 3 times a week. I would do these exercises 3 times a day. It was a part of my everyday life. Now, if I wanted to get better, I had to do the exercises.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's so important to take those exercises from those therapists and incorporate it in your day to day. I had vision problems after my accident as well. My eyes don't team or track well. So if I've had tests where they'll monitor my eyes movement as I'm reading a book. And instead of going left to right, it's going like left, up, down, right. Like it's insane what my eyes do. I've gone to vision therapy to try to help. Um, but it wasn't a cure. I still struggle with it, but it leads to more head pain if I read books. Do you?
Yeah, I don't like reading fine print. It hurts.
Good.
It
Yeah.
doesn't feel good.
Oh, good God. Yeah, it's miserable. So we've talked about your vision deficits since these head injuries. You being, I guess, dizzy too. Like walking was you could walk, but you were easily. What did you say? I guess that came in with being dizzy, right? You would fall over.
Yeah, but I mean, my balance. Yeah, when I was able to focus on things, like my brain was able to start moving towards it in a good way. It all came to it. I'd
Okay.
say one of the hardest things was taking these. I've like we're using children's toys and whatnot, and one of the hardest things was taking it seriously, like taking the exercises seriously. It just felt really stupid at first, but I mean, if I didn't do those exercises, I'd be in a much worse place than I am now.
Mhm. What okay, what else do you struggle with? You said head pain's up there. I mean, you deal with this constantly.
Yeah, my head, it's really weird. I don't know. I think you'll know as well. Like we have those days where it's quite literally unbearable. Um, Unfortunately, today isn't. So I'm able to be here and talk and have some light in my room. But on an unbearable day with the head pain, it's like it hurts so much. You just like you want to throw up, like not because you feel sick, but like genuinely just like from the pain. It's like a reaction. Um, so my head, yeah, but it comes with and I think one of the biggest. I could live with the head pain. I have lived with this head pain. My head hurts. It's gonna happen. My energy levels, one of the hardest things to deal with is I'm just exhausted all the time. My brain is trying to repair itself and can't, and it's diverting so much of like you'd say like a daily energy capacity. It's taking so much of that energy and trying to fix my brain, but the brain doesn't know really what's broken, and so it's leaving me with less energy to be social, to go out, to be motivated. I've found it been one of my biggest struggles between my mental health and um, my energy levels is some of the hardest stuff I have to deal with.
Energy, man, dude, I feel you. Good God, I feel like I wake up, like you charge your phone at night, you wake up, it's at 100%. When I wake up, my energy, we're lucky if it's at like a 70. And it just depletes
Yeah,
so quickly throughout the day because our brains are working so hard to overcompensate. And the pain that we're in, like you said, nonstop, that just zaps it. I mean, think about anybody, right? Like your brain's
yeah,
work to try to eradicate this pain. It's not working. So it's just fighting against itself, essentially. And
yeah,
I've it's so tough for people to understand, but it's so nice talking to you, somebody that lives with this pain day in and day out. And the best analogy I could think of for somebody to understand it is it's like having the radio on in the background, right? You always hear it, you're always thinking about it. That's like our head pain. And some days the freaking speaker's up to 100. Some days it's down to like
yeah,
15 or 20. It's just always there. And dude, it's exhausting. It's I don't. I mean, you're a strong individual, man. You're 23. You've been dealing with this for 3 years. I've been doing it for 6 years. You said you can live with it, and I can too. But damn, dude, some days it gets really, really hard. Not saying I'd ever quit or anything like that, but it takes a very special person to be able to carry this burden because the pain it's rough.
yeah. I mean, I've had two jobs since this head injury, um, and yeah, both times it really came down to stress, my energy, and the pain that caused me to to not have those jobs anymore. Which is a horrible feeling, like you feel like, oh, okay, like I'm feeling, you might have a really good 2 weeks where you feel like revitalized almost, and like you're like I can finally do something, I can finally make a difference in my own life, and then yeah, so you go and do something major, and it causes you to just crash so hard, like you just yeah, it's hard to set goals because it feels like you're so often setting yourself up for failure because you're just so tired, and it comes with another thing with exhaustion, you lack motivation, and then with no motivation you don't really do much, and that has impacts on me because I do want to do things, but when the time comes to do it I couldn't think of anything worse. It has impacts on my relationships with people, but whether it's my partner or my best friends, they all uh, are in good health. um and they all want to go and do things. You know, one of the biggest things I've done since I was 18 was drinking. I don't drink much, if at all, anymore. I probably drank like 3 times in the last year. We have a massive drinking culture here in New Zealand. And yeah, that's been hard as well. You know, I used to be fun. Like I used to be out and about. I used to do a lot of shit. Everyone within reason. You know, I had a lot of friends. A lot of people knew me. I don't want to say I was popular or anything, but like I was known and I was fun. But yeah, I lost that when I lost my energy to do it. It's harder to be nice than it is to be mean, I think. And a lot of energy goes into not being frustrated at people and trying to take a step back and understand what's going on around you.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, so true. And you had mentioned it, you wanting to go out, you wanting to spend time with friends or family, and it's that gamble where I've rolled the dice and I haven't listened to my body, and I've gone out with friends, and that next day I'm dead. I have to leave
Yeah,
early that night with them, and it's just yeah, it takes a lot of patience and understanding. A lot of people don't, they lack that, and I've lost a lot of friends and family members because they don't take the time to understand the challenges that I'm going through, especially with this chronic pain and what restrictions I have because of it. How have your relationships changed since your head injury? Have you lost some friends along the way? Have you lost partners? How's your family been? What does that look like?
um, I'm fortunate enough to have been raised in one of the better families on this earth. I believe our entire my entire life has been raised more around my family than anything. So my family have all been extremely understanding and helpful. Some people a lot more than others, but everyone has at least tried to understand kind of what's going on. And it's hard, if you're a closed-minded individual and you can only relate things to your own experiences, and you haven't experienced permanent brain damage or migraines that last longer than 2 days, it's really hard to relate. But I give massive credit to my family for everything they've done in my journey in terms of trying to help me, motivate me, and especially over the last few years, come to an understanding that it's not actually feasible for me to have a full-time job and be working and saving and trying to go and explore the whole world and stuff. Like that's just not a position I can be in. Friends wise, um, I mean, my best friend Ben has been by my side pretty much the whole time. He's had a massive influence on my life. He's one of the few people who I truly know understand it. He's lived in my room with me for like a year and a half after this injury. So he kind of like he's firsthand knows how many shit days I can have or how I'm feeling, and he's just coasted alongside it. It's been hard for him. There are battles, like there are so many times where he wants to do something and I just flat out just tell him no, and he unfortunately has to be the one to take that burden on. So I appreciate him, and I've had a partner for the last year and a half who has been shown me nothing but her undying support. She's carrying the weight of our relationship right now, way more than I would ever want. But it's just unfortunately where we lie. I'd say I've lost a lot of friends as well. And I had an ex girlfriend of 2.5 years who I'd met pretty much just like a year after the injury, and the, the head injury didn't help. But there were other factors to that as well. So it's not fair of me to blame just the head injury on one or anything. There's so much going on in life. So many different factors influence outcomes. And so, yeah, but I think for the most part, I've had a really good support system.
Yeah. Man, you seem very level-headed with everything and everything that's come your way. I think a lot of our listeners can gain some knowledge from you. Where does this approach come from? I mean, you seem very placid, the waters aren't really choppy in your world, and you like when things come your way, when it feels like, you can't hold down a full-time job, you can't go out and hang with friends. What keeps you on the glass half full side of things instead of, being down and out?
It's I think a lot of people would beg to differ. I definitely have my bad days where, it's just like a fuck the world day. So it just depends. I think ultimately I have a reason to try so hard to get better. Like as I've said, like my partner has carried this relationship on her shoulders since I lost my full-time job, or since me and the company made the decision that it didn't make sense. I was in a really high stress environment working 40 to 50-hour weeks, and I I really struggle to do anything but excel, and I was really struggling to even function um, at a point in this job. But I live a lot of my life for myself, but a lot of my life for her as well. She's the light of my life. She's done so much to help me keep my head up and keep pushing forward, and get better, because I know, like ultimately I know how much effort and money and love has gone into what she's done for me over this last year and a half, and I want to be able to repay that.
Amazing. What's some advice you could give to somebody suffering with a brain injury, whether they just, you know, had it a month ago, or, got a concussion a month ago, or thick in it after living with one for, 5 years? What's the best advice you could give them that's gotten you through those days?
Um, I'd say it comes with a price, but you need to learn to say no. Um, Whether that's to yourself, if you like, or to other people. Um, you aren't you may be a superhero in your own right, but you aren't, like, you cannot push yourself too hard. The consequences are so much worse for someone than if they didn't have it. Like you can view it in your everyday life with a head injury. There, if you did um, insert item A, the consequence would be B. In a normal life, the B is going to be worse. Like things are going to be worse, so you have to learn to be able to say no to yourself. Um, like, no, maybe, like, I can't go and do this big thing that everyone's been talking about. No, I you it's good to push yourself in moderation, but you need to learn to say no to yourself and to others, and give yourself the time and the space to be able to get back to whatever normal is.
Was that hard for you to
A
do?
100%, 100%. I've always I'm a people pleaser, or I was. um, I never liked letting anyone down. I always wanted to make everyone, I always wanted to feel happy, and I felt like the best way for me to feel happy was to make the people around me happy. Um, so it was hard to say no, but it's not hard anymore. Yeah, I don't struggle with it at all. I do definitely, it's never not in the back of my mind when I say no to someone that I may feel like I'm disappointing them in some capacity, but it no one can take this as seriously as you, and you're not going to get better until you are taking it seriously. So a consequence of taking it seriously is setting up boundaries that are removable. Let's make them bamboo. That's cool, but like you need to have boundaries that you can set up to allow yourself to, heal, to recover. Rest is so important. Doing nothing is better than doing something and burning out.
What is Where do you see yourself in the next 5 years? Where would you be happy in your recovery? What does that include? Holding down a full-time job if possible? Does that just,
A hundred
you know,
percent. Yeah, it depends. I live in Auckland, New Zealand at the moment. I'm from a city called Tauranga, and me and my partner would like to go back to Tauranga. But that would be just the two of us in a house, which requires dual income in this day and age, this economy. So yeah, I mean, part time, but 5 years from now, I mean, I'd like to be a father and have good job, and that's kind of where I'm at 5 years from now. I'm 23. By year 28, I don't want to be pushing anything out too late. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
yeah, that's the vibe. That's the idea, and I know that that would be another massive hurdle in my journey and in my life. You can't turn a screaming baby off, and you can't ignore it. So yeah, I'm nervous, but also interested to see how that's going to play out. If my head is still sore by then, but who knows? It's that's the problem with head injuries. It's not a science; it's an art. That no one we have nowhere near enough information to be able to perfectly diagnose every case or perfectly help every case, and so you kind of just left in this gray area where I could stop having a headache tomorrow, or I could never um, have a semblance of a normal life again. It's so variable, which is that's a good place to be able to find hope. You, the chances of it lasting forever are the same as the chances of it lasting till tomorrow. You just keep pushing through to that next day.
Yeah. Yeah. Do you think the pain is the biggest restriction from you for being able to work a full-time job? Have you noticed the pain affecting any memory, or how is your memory?
Mm, Um, the pain, it doesn't. The pain. I was working with headaches over this last 3.5 years. That was fine. It's the energy levels and the energy in conjunction with the head pain. I think was the biggest one for that. Memory wise, yeah, some days I couldn't even tell you what I'd had for dinner the night before. Um, and then other days I pull out some, you know, fact about a Mayan artifact from the 1600s. Who knows? So it's weird. Memory is such a weird topic to think about. Or yeah, I definitely say my short-term memory has taken a hit on these pills that I'm currently on, pregabalin. But yeah, no, I don't think it's too bad just yet.
Yeah, yeah. So is the biggest thing you're working with doctors right now is to try to find a resolution for the pain? Is that the biggest thing?
But yeah, that's right. Yeah, I've been. Um, I've personally, growing up, wasn't too much of a believer in medication that changes the chemical balance in your body. I've always tried my best to be true to myself, and I felt that I would be cheating myself out of that by taking pills that were gonna, change the way my if I'm on an antidepressant, its job is to change how I feel and how I think, and I didn't want that. But yeah, I bit the bullet. I've been on uh, painkillers or chronic head relief. I've tried so many different things. I've tried amitriptyline, which went horribly. I was I was on these pills to lower my heart rate. They thought if my heart rate was lower, less blood would be pumping to my head, and so in theory, I wouldn't have headaches. But that just gave me purple feet and like a resting heart rate of like a dead person. So that didn't really work either. I've tried a lot of things, and more often than not, I just get to a dosage where it's so high that my body is failing in different places and things that I'd never experienced. And yeah, I mean, you just want to stop, but you just keep taking them, in conjunction with your doctor, of course. But there are side effects that are really bad, and like the last pills I was on, I stopped taking altogether because the side effects was I couldn't go to the toilet in any capacity. Like 72 hours. That was worse than any headache I've ever had. Is not being able to piss or shit for like 3 days straight. That was horrid. I felt like I was going to explode. That was terrible. I wouldn't wish that on my worst enemy. And that was just two of the, I'd say, 15 symptoms I had. I'm shaking, I'm dizzy, I'm nauseous, vomiting. My feet are purple, swollen. Uh, yeah, there was so much going wrong.
Yeah, I mean the price to pay for finding some sense of relief from the head pain. Thankfully, I've never had any reactions like that to medications. But I will say, I've tried over 50 different medications to try to get my head pain to go away. Nothing has been successful, and the only thing that has helped are ice packs that I wrap around my head, and I had one on before we started talking. I'll have one on afterwards, but we talked about this. I'm going to send you some because it gives you just a sliver of relief, which is what I need to get through the day. So after the show, I'm going to get your address. I will send you one because you're a fighter. I'm so proud of you for sticking through it, for being so optimistic and positive, even though you say some people would say otherwise. But you're full of so much wisdom. I've learned a lot through this conversation from you, and you've definitely have changed my optics on a few things for the better. And I'm so incredibly happy that you have a great support system, a phenomenal partner that's been through it with you, as well as your family. Just in closing, is there anything else you'd like to say? Anything that I may have missed, or any more tips you want to share to our listeners or even caregivers? What would you like to say in closing?
Um, I'd just say to the people that are watching that don't have head injuries, we're not like, you know, Project Zero, the first infected. It is just something that we live with, and some people will have harder days than others, and uh, it's hard. You can't demand the respect or understanding of every single person in your life. You're bound to lose people, but there is good that comes out of the situation. You do truly learn who cares about you and who's just with you because you're a bit of fun or you're available. So I think there is always you can always look at something negatively, or you can try your best to take a positive, even if it's a small one, out of the situation. I've learned a lot in these last 4.5 years. I would not be with my partner now if I didn't have permanent brain damage. And I think I would make that sacrifice every time to be with her. So you can find light at the end of every tunnel if you drive far enough.
Wise words from William. William, thank you so much for joining us on the show, man. I'm going to keep up with you just because this podcast is over now. Doesn't mean we're not going to stay in touch. I'm going to be asking for updates, and again, dude, I'm just so proud of you, and you're a true motivation. So keep kicking ass, and maybe I'll see you in New Zealand one of these days. I've always been wanting
Yeah,
to
yeah,
visit.
man.
Yeah,
You're always welcome. We've got a pretty big house, so we can make it work for you. And I appreciate you having me on and giving me a platform to be able to share my experiences with the world.
awesome, William. Thank you so much. Have a good one, bud.
Thanks. Bye.